Culpeper Squadron of the Commemorative Air Force. And is one of the marshals out here on the ramp. And wanted the crowd to see this type of aircraft. The Commemorative Air Force hangar, which is the last blue hangar on the left down there, or toward the north. You can talk to the people about the progress on this airplane. It's a big torpedo bomber. It was used extensively in World War II and did a outstanding job at the Battle of Midway. Replaced the old Douglas SPD and only accumulated 1,227 hours in 11 years of service. He saw brief duty as a fire retardant bomber, and was acquired by the Military Aviation Museum in 2001. Here it comes. Roman TBM, built by General Motors. Very tight takeoff. Look, it's off the ground already. That's naval aviation, isn't it, Frank?
Yes, it is indeed. That's a beautiful thing. That's a lot of airplanes to get airborne in a short distance like that. And not too many guys around that can fly an airplane like that with that kind of agility these days.
After one that actually participated, actually flew for the Navy. It's going to be passing by with the bomb bay doors open. Now take a look at one thing for me. See if there's a rear turret on this one. I don't think there is. Some of them were manufactured without a rear turret.
Fight the World War II see that airplane come by and the bomb bay doors open and a torpedo come out and know it's headed for the ship.
I wouldn't want to be close to it, Frank, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I tell you what, it was a powerful airplane. So
but having a squadron of those taking off, my God, it would rattle windows for miles.
Looks like he's got the gear down and he's going to come by and give you a dirty pass, I believe.
I believe it's torpedo bomber, and the M stands for General Motors. Yeah. CBF is a different manufacturer. Yes, maybe Grumman or whatever. I'm told by the air boss that he's going to make a dirty pass. That's with flaps down, landing gear down, and a resting hook down, probably. We'll see.
John, this was almost in the very beginning of naval aviation. You can imagine an airplane of this size, and the carriers of those days didn't have 850 feet of angled deck with the sophisticated arresting gear that we have today. So these guys had to be pretty much spot on, particularly on speed and on center line. They didn't have self-centering gear like we had in these days aboard the carriers. So if they missed it by alignment or they missed it by speed, the consequences often were catastrophic. Landing signal officers back in those days, and the landing signal officers would have flags for these guys to tell them whether they had to go left or right, or up or down, or whether it's speed, and sometimes the landing signal officer would just kick one foot out of the other to let the pilot know that he needed to step on that rudder to get himself aligned. So that was the sophistication they had from the LSOs. John's just called us from the cockpit saying that the next pass he's going to make is the high-speed flyby with a Delta wing and a J-79.
Frank, I think that carrier takeoff we saw was the way they actually did it. They did it without catapults.
Yeah, they did. You can imagine that, and the B-25s in the days of Jimmy DeWitt.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So we had some people there that really really had to work hard because in the early days of naval aviation, again, we just didn't have the sophistication. One of those tricky parts, here he comes from the left, from the TBM. God, really, that thing just looks beautiful. In the early days, even up to the early days of the jet age, sometimes it could be really difficult to even find the carrier, especially at night. So a lot of times I remember Jim Lovell on Apollo 13 talked about he had a complete electrical failure in the airplane, and then he followed the phosphorescence that the aircraft carrier was kicking up in order to find his way to the carrier at night. So that's what he says, and that's a story and he's sticking to it. But later at Apollo 13 astronaut. So he's coming back down with the gear now. He's making the turn, and he's going to be doing a landing. I
guess as high as he gets, that looks pretty fast to me.
So it's going to pop up. There's the photo.
All right, nice job. We're told by the air boss he's going to make a breakdown when to land. The gear is down.
You heard the pitch of the prop change there, so imagine that the prop here is at full increase.
It's unbelievable that at that slow speed, 18,000 pounds is hanging up in the air.
So he's got two in the front, the tail wheel's down. It looks like life's good for John here as he brings the TBM around to land. That's an old LSO. Let's see if we can give you a little recreation of what it was like to land on a carrier here. So he's coming off the wrong side of the ship for one thing, but that's what we have to do today. Yeah, it's an angled deck problem. So about this point, you know, at the 90 degree on a real aircraft carrier landing, you do about 360 feet or so, and roll out and see what's called the Fresnel lens and the LSO. So right about now, he's making a call. He'd be making a call as he rolled in the groove, like he had whatever the call sign of the airplane was, TBM 05, ball 2 down, and give us fuel state. And he'd get right over the carrier ramp, and they would give him the cut signal, and then the airplane would just sort of fall out of the air and right onto the carrier deck and hopefully catch a wire. In today's age, with the modern jets, we keep the aircraft at power all the way to touchdown. As soon as the aircraft touches down, you have to go to complete full power in order to be able to go around in case you missed the wire. But in a prop airplane, because you got instantaneous thrust, you don't have to do that.
Nice landing,
Very, very nice landing. It's kind of nice to have that little bubble back there with the gun.
There's nothing like the sound of a radio lens in your...
At this air show, we're doing a tribute to the afterburst of naval aviation until about 2 months later, in January, they brought the first aircraft aboard a ship to land aboard a ship. So, and I believe that was January 14th, 2011. So here we are in this year celebrating the 100th anniversary of those of us that wear gold wings believe all that is good.
Here comes the Fighter Factory's TBM. Remember, this flight was sponsored by Anna Culpeper. We all know that because this is a very rare sight to see this airplane flying.
sophisticated, dangerous evolutions you could ever be involved in day-to-day. A people day like today that we all take for granted on the crater deck when they're launching airplanes is probably the most dangerous place in the world. And there have been some significant accidents over the course of time in the 100 years we've been involved in this, but the safety record is getting much, much better, and we rarely have those kinds of things anymore, but they still do happen. Taxiing out is Dr. Smoke, ladies and gentlemen, and his SF-260.